So I'm just gonna kick off the session now. Nitin, you're on mute. Okay. All right, we're gonna talk about product economics today, and I know Nitin and the team has created a lot of buzz, and it's quite a relevant topic. But we want to make it really interactive. We don't want to make it a very boring kind of lecture session. And I would really, appreciate if you have any questions. Feel free to either put it in chat or put your hand up and let us know that you have a question, and we will be able to get through that. All right. So next slide, Nitin. Can I just go through today's agenda? Great. So we'll be talking about, of course, introduction. Who am I? Who is this strange lady talking? What is the goal of the session? We will start off with an example because I feel examples make things quite relatable, and you can see yourself in the situation, and that's when the understanding really kicks off. We will talk about why should you care about financial statements. What are the type of financial statements? And because this is a series one, session one of the series, we will be focusing on income statement, and I've also got an example of an income statement for you to look at. And then if you and I are still awake, we'll have some Q&A. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide, Nitin. Great. I'm Sonal, and I'm a product manager for over 9 years. I studied Masters of Accounting in Financial Management. I didn't wanted to become an accountant. Somehow stumbled into product management and then combined the love of product management and just the financial management component that I loved doing. Combine them two, and now I do build fintech products. I've built credit card, personal loan, home loan, buy now pay later, and also I've worked in wealth platform products as well. So yeah, so quite a diverse portfolio there, and I've also worked on digital products for them. So for example, creating a front end user portal, where the financial planners could place their trades, etc. like that, and an event management system for a NGO. So that's about me. And outside of work, I like to be quite active on LinkedIn, and I also like to do digital art. So soon you may be seeing my post about, you know, my digital art. So don't be alarmed that what happened to Sonal. It has to change profession. It's just a side thing that I like to do. We'll talk about what is our goal of the session. So goal of the session is not to become an accountant. The goal of the session is not to become a financial expert, but the goal of the session is, first of all, to clearly understand why do you need to care about, understanding of the financials, why is it important, and how learning the basics can actually set you up for success, especially as a product manager. So that's the goal today. And hopefully by the end of the session, you all will feel that yes, we've achieved it. Nitin, can we move on to the next slide, please? And now we'll talk about an example. Okay, and I'm just gonna kick it off. So this is Sam. This guy on the screen is Sam. Okay, and so meet Sam. He is a product manager for an online shopping platform. Pretty much what he noticed in past few years was that the revenue seems to be dropping off. So of course he had his creative hat on as a product manager, and he thought, what can I do? So he came up with this brilliant idea for that, how about I extend the product payment options for my online shopping platform. So he wanted to add a buy now pay later as a payment option. They were already offering debit card, credit card, and PayPal. So great. Sorry, go back. Yeah, great. So it was a great, of course, idea, and they were focusing on the consumers. Sorry, sorry. Can I have everyone on the mute?
You can continue, Sonal.
Yeah,
Sorry for the inconvenience.
I was being muted. All right, just give me a second because I lost my view of the presentation. Okay, so just a second. All right, so yes, so what I was talking about, that he eventually came up with this brilliant idea of, I would like to add buy now, pay later. Fantastic idea. I totally recommend it. Now, he was focusing on the age group between 18 to 35. He thought, they are the adopters for buy now, pay later, right? These kids, they're not, maybe they're just starting off on their career. So they would like to buy good things, but they generally would not have that much money at front. So buy now, pay later is what they'll be using, and they're the core target market for their shopping platform. So Sam pitched this idea to his head of product, right? The head of product said, great idea, I like it. Go ahead, prepare the business case, okay, for the next executive meeting. Now the D-Day arrived. Sam is giving presentation. And after the presentation, there were questions, right? You expect questions. CFO said that the revenue estimates, for example, they are on the cash basis. They're inconsistent with how we recognize revenue. Also, I don't think so you've accounted for buy now, pay later provider fee. The chief revenue officer said, hey, our goal was to actually, grow our revenue by 10 million. You are barely bringing 1 million by this. Why should we go with the idea? And the operation VP said that, for example, we had a goal this year to eliminate 75%, to actually fund the elimination so that the single point of failure, could be fixed. But if you are actually adding another payment option, that could delay the process. All fair questions. Now, Sam, of course, looked at the CEO, and the CEO on the next slide will give you the answer, said, Sam, thanks for putting up the business case together. But because there were a lot of questions and there was a lot of unresolved stuff, I think that seems like it's not the best time to move forward with the project. Now, Sam had a brilliant idea, right? We all could be that Sam. We all are product managers, or we all could be aspiring to be a product manager. We come up with this great idea, which we know that it's really good, but sometimes we just don't convey the message properly. And that's what happened, right? He failed to convince the executive team. So there were three failures in this instance. It was, first of all, not presenting the financials in the right context, not understanding the contribution this initiative was going to make to the overall revenue, and third was no socialization. So when we're talking about the first bit, that not presenting it in the right manner, what do we mean by that, right? So it's pretty much that one of the core reasons that Sam faced was not presenting the revenue in the right manner. Now, executives understand revenue and expense, right, in the financial statement. So if you're not presenting the estimates in the right manner, you're losing your credibility straight away. So that is why it's important to understand financial acumen, because this is going to play a really important role in your business cases. Secondly, he did not understand the relative contribution his proposal was going to make to the overall business. So that is one thing that he really needed to understand. How is he contributing? As a product manager, you always need to ask yourself a question in numbers. How am I contributing to my company's success? Because everyone is there to make money, right? As much as we want to change the world, the companies can only change the world as well if they're making money, if they're profitable. And thirdly, he did not socialize it. So as a product manager, you are not supposed to be a financial expert. You're not supposed to be, as a perfect designer. You're not supposed to be a perfect developer as well. But you need to have the right people in place who give you right information. You need to have the right SMEs from sales, from marketing. You talk about operation, you talk about finance, who give you right input that you put it in your business case. If Sam would have socialized it before actually going ahead with the presentation, and he would have taken help from the SME, from a financial, from the finance team, the person would have pointed out that this is not in the right manner and this is how it should be, and he could have actually got the credibility, and maybe the proposal would have gone through with that. So we all can be Sam. I have been a Sam before the start of my career, and not to say maybe in future I won't be, but this is always to keep in mind so that you learn from it. Just going to take a pause here before I move on to why product managers should care about financial statements, dwell on this further. Any questions so far? All right, so we'll keep going. I'm assuming no questions. Okay. All right, so next slide, please. Nathan? Great. Okay. Now, we already spoke about why product managers should care about financial statements. Like, you've got just the surface understanding of it, right? Now, let's dwell into it. What are the reasons? So, first reason is understand your contribution to the company's success. It helps you to understand how much you're contributing. What is extremely important is, you know, we say my product is successful or not successful. I want to drive revenue, but how would you drive revenue if you don't even understand that, what revenue is, if you don't even understand how your product is making money, how much money is it making, is that money less as per the market standard or is it more, so how would you determine that? So that's why it is really first and foremost, what financial statement will tell you is how you as a product manager, your product is contributing to the company's success. Also, additional tip, free of cost, is that the numbers look really good on your resume as well. So, sorry, someone said anything. Can someone be who is talking be on mute? I can hear. Yeah, okay, all good. And then also, as I said, the additional tip was that numbers look great on your CV too. Okay, I have got an achievement section only. I don't have responsibility section in my CV, and all I talk about is numbers. How I drove 23 million from this, 2 million from that, and that makes your resume really weighted as well. So I just want to talk about practical aspects as well. Every time you're driving a feature, every time you're making a product, always think of in numbers. How am I contributing to the success? How am I contributing to company's number? Because those numbers add to your, as a product manager, to your strength too. Secondly, it's a great way to health check the product, right? It's a good way to understand if my product profitable or not. Is my revenue shrinking or not? So like a doctor, you should be doing a quarterly check anyway on your product. And for the big companies, you will be anyway doing that, because most of the time you have to create a board papers, where for the finance team does that. So you will need to feed in some numbers to them as well. Helps you speak executive language. As we actually just saw an example, with in this case of Sam, it was a great idea. He just fell short of actually selling this idea to executives. And one of the main reason was because straight away CFO said, hey, you are not estimating it in the right manner like we do it. And that clearly shows that this product manager hasn't done the research. Product manager does not exactly like, they don't want to support the idea, and they would be hesitant to support the idea because you as a product manager are a captain of that ship. But pretty much, if you are not putting the right numbers on the page, how would they be comfortable that you're able to drive it successfully? So that's another thing. That, and also, if you want to talk to executives, I can tell you many times, in a startup where I've worked, and startup, it's a very small company. It was a very small company. So CEO just used to come to me and ask me many questions. And at that time, even I learned this a lot of stuff on the job, right? Where I figured out that, oh, I need to now give them this. I need to actually tell them about my competitor, that why is this doing well. And that's how I did a lot of research, and that's how I found out how important is this skill. And of course, from the career perspective as well, you want to have the networking done, and to network, you got to speak the right language. Additional tip for the career. I think I'm doing career uh, this session as well, side by side, right? Now, of course, you can learn a tremendous amount about the competitors. So if your competitors are a public listed company, you can find out a lot about them by the quarterly and the financial reports. And there has been many times where I actually have found out a lots of information about the competitors, and also they talk about what are they going to be investing in, so you know they kind of little bit of future strategy as well, right? So it is really important from the competitors perspective. Now if it's a private company, depending on, and they don't have the documents online, it could be a bit of struggle to find.
Could you please unmute yourself?
Thank you. So it could be a little bit of and sorry, where was I? Yeah. So if it's a private company, then it can be an issue to understand that to get those numbers in. But at that time, you will have to do a lot of assumption, and you most likely will be using a research company who will be doing the research for you anyway. They won't be able to give you financials, but if the company is as per your level, that means that the overhead cost is pretty much supposed to be a little bit similar to your one. So you will have to do assumptions in those cases, but in public listed companies, that's it. Straight away you get that information. And additional tip, career tip, it is really handy as well, because if you land an interview with a competitor and you have done your due diligence, you have read the numbers, it just impresses them like anything. And I've done this many times. If I'm interviewing with a competitor, or if I'm interviewing with a financial, mostly I've done with the banks and all, I would read their financial statement. I understand what are they investing in, and that's the language that I talk about, that what's going on in the market. And I actually saw your financial statement, and I know this is what the product has been doing, and this is where you're investing next. And that generally just leaves them really good impression. Doesn't matter if I end up getting that job, or if I end up taking that job or not, I always have that great impression left with them, because they know that I've done my research. So that's also it's important, and it makes you market aware. Now, helps with the critical decision. What does that mean? Now, for example, of course, when you're looking at numbers, numbers don't lie, right? Your gut could lie, your assumptions could lie, but numbers don't lie. Either they tell you in black and white if something is working, if something is making profit, if something is not making a profit. So based on that, you can make a decision whether you want to decommission your product because it's not you know doing anything, or would you like to still invest in it and actually go on to the growth strategy. So it really helps you with those critical decisions where you don't know, you can back it with the numbers, and that becomes your a very meaty decision then. And helps you become a strategic product manager, right? How can you drive a change in an organization if you don't understand how you're contributing, if you don't understand what you're giving them as a product, is it profitable or not? And the alone responsibility doesn't lie on you. Of course, it's a team effort, but as a product manager, you need to understand you are in that position where you will not get all the glory if everything is going well. That is a team glory. But if anything falls apart, you know if your product, if you invested in something saying that it's going to bring this, but it actually didn't end up, then the fall is on you. Because as I said before, you are the captain of that ship, right? So you are taking everyone on that journey. So it doesn't matter if you're a technical PM, doesn't matter if you're a non-technical PM. I hear this so many times, technical, non-technical. It doesn't matter. As a product manager, bottom line is you do need to at least understand how to read a basic financial statement, nothing more than that. But then have the, if you do know, understand the basics of financial statement, the next step is to actually find a ally, find someone who is in the finance department who could be your go-to person. I always had one person or two people, at max in the finance section where I can go to if I need to clarify anything. Because financial statements are complicated. So you don't want to drive something just by thinking that I know everything. You need to know basics, but you also need to have allies in the right places. Now I'm just going to stop here because I've been talking a lot. Any questions? Everyone still awake?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. I haven't put you guys to sleep. That's a good thing.
Yes, yes.
All right, good. Okay, so happy for me to continue. Okay, great. Next slide. Can I have that? All right, so we'll now dwell into type of financial statements, right? So, as I mentioned before, you don't need a degree in accounting, but you do need to know how to find, read, and interpret a basic financial statement, right? Now, of course, these skills, this especially as a skill will help you build better product, value equation, business cases, and competitive analysis. And God knows how many times you'll be doing competitive analysis. I've done it like I think 100 times. And it's comes really handy. Don't take it lightly, guys. Just get the basics right, and then you're set. So the first one is income statement, balance sheet, and then cash flow statement. I deliberately had it in these three, like in this order, is because cash flow statement I feel is the most important for a product manager to understand. And cash flow statements are a little bit complicated. So to understand that, first you really need to grasp on income statement and balance sheet. Okay. Now, what is an income statement? Just at a surface level, very simply, income statement for a period of time tells you how profitable the business is, okay, for that period of time. Now, that period of time could be a day, that period of time could be a week, that period of time could be a month, right? But it will give you the snapshot of that period of time. It captures all the sales, all expenses, and also gives you a net income, right? Now you can run it. And the good bit about income statement is income statement you can run it by service, income statement you can run it by product, you can even run it by client. So for example, when I was at a startup, it was a very client driven business. Okay, we had a very tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 clients. So we always used to keep an eye on how much money are we making from tier 1, right? Then this particular client, has this gone dropped over the period of time? Has the product adoption dropped by them? What is happening? So it gives you that view that you really need from that. So that's a first, like a first quick check of your product that you can do. Balance sheet. Now, balance sheet is a bit complicated, of course, than income statement. It has many components. It has assets. It has liabilities. Of course, we all have done, at one point in our time, balance sheet and those questions in the exam, and really struggle to get those balance sheet equated. So you have to describe it. Describes the company's asset, liabilities, stockholder equity on a specific date. They also have, like, they have a many interesting facts about them. And the reason it is helpful as a product manager is because it helps you to understand customer, it helps you to understand competitors, and it even your own company. You get a better idea of your own company because as a product manager, you're very focused on your product. You're very focused on your product portfolio. So you lose sight of what is going on in parallel. So this gives you that helicopter view that you want, that from the top, to understand what my company is doing. Third is cash flow statement. Cash flow statement tells you how cash moves into and out of the business. Very simply, as it says, cash flow statement. So you can gauge. And this is the, as I said before, this is probably the one of the hardest, type of financial statements for product managers. So that is why it's important for us to first get into income statement, balance sheet, and then we'll go into cash flow statement. Cash flow statement also has three components. So it's cash from operating activities, cash from investing activities, and cash from financing activities. Cash from operating activities for a product manager is the most important one. to focus on. But today, we are not going to be talking about cash flow statement. We are not going to be talking about balance sheet. We will be talking about income statement. Any questions? No, no questions. Uh,
Hello.
hello.
Yes. So my name is Ashwin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, balance sheet, as what I get, what I get was like it's a statement which has like which shows liabilities and assets of our company, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Because
has many other components, but on a surface level, balance sheet always tells you assets and liabilities. Yes.
okay, yeah. Because like I had some net issues, so at that time I had some. The voice was not clear for me. That's why I asked.
Okay.
Yeah.
All good. Thank you, Smith. Okay. Thank you for asking question. Any more? Okay. So we'll move on to the next slide, Nitin, now. All right. Now, these five components are the most important components of an income statement. Okay. And after we've gone through this, we'll go through an example and then we'll do Q&A. But these are the five elements that you need to understand and you just need to look for in any income statement. So the first one is a revenue, right? Revenues are, as mentioned here, revenues are the sales that are recognized in a specific period. Product managers should understand the concept of revenue recognition and how it impacts their product, right? For example, I'm a product manager. So here in Australia, my financial year ends on 30th of June. Okay, and I sold something. I sold like I'm a software. I'm selling a software, for example, subscription, and I gave it to a client, and that client took complete your subscription from me, and that client paid me upfront. So they gave me 100,000, for example, in say December. So that means I'm going to account 50,000 in this year. I'm going to account 50,000 this year till June in this financial year, and 50,000 goes into the next year. Okay. So whatever, if I'm doing the income statement till 30th of June. So it's pretty much whatever sales you have done in that particular period of time. Uh, right. Now cost, and it's quite simple. So that's it. That's what revenue is. Now cost of revenue and cost of goods sold. What is this? It is the direct cost that is associated with providing a good or a service to a customer. So, for example, these could be the operating costs when you have looked at it. For example, third party cloud hosting, integrated third party services, could be a call center cost, uh, could be whatever you need to do. For example, if you are selling that, if you are spending, putting anything on the marketing, whatever is that cost associated with providing that good or service to a customer, that is comes into this cost of revenue bucket. Then we move on to operating expense. Operating expenses are the headcount related. So product managers should learn about the operating expenses ratio from the industry. So this gives you assumptions, this gives you ideas. For example, a young company, say, who's just joined the market, will spend more on sales and marketing, right? Because they want to be visible, they want to show their product. While more mature company will tend to spend little less on that because they already have a market presence, they already have a loyal customer base. Now, for example, a company that focuses on the early stages of technology adoption, they will be spending significantly maybe on a new technology, and sometimes it in comparison to, for example, here, there are neobanks coming up, so they are completely online banks in Australia, and this concept has been going on, I think, in the US as well. They're completely online, they're branchless, they have nothing like a setup like a normal bank, right? and they're very fast. You apply it within 2 minutes, you get your, application is done, you get your card. The cards are Instagrammable, they are super quick, and they have the apps is amazing in comparison to, so they're spending a lot on that, but in comparison to a institution, for example Commonwealth Bank of Australia, they have got already a loyal base, they already have got a mature product line. So they have a proper, they're not spending on that technology, right? They're not spending on those APIs to make it really, or to get those new technologies in. So this is how the operating expense differs from young versus a mature company. And of course, mature company has more expenses in terms of, they have more staff and other things to taken care of. Other expenses. So other expenses are any non-operational expenses. So for example, like, your taxes, your depreciation, your interest payments, all these comes under other expenses. And then you have operating profit and then the net profit. Now, operating profit is equal to, you see, revenue, and then you minus the operating expense, and that gives you an operating profit as well. The net profit is equal to operating profit minus any other expenses, right? It's quite simple and self explanatory. Now, operating profit and net profit margins are important metrics for determining the health of a business, because many early stage companies, for example, like many early stage companies, you would have said, they go for a long time in losses before they actually make that money. For example, like company like Uber, they had, I think they had a loss for in their, for years in their net income. So they didn't make any profit, so that's what it showed, because of course they were getting into the market at that time. So just mindful, it's a lot of information. We've covered five main components of an income statement. Any questions around those?
Ma'am, I'm Ashik.
Yeah, hi Ashik.
I have a doubt that is there a difference between saying like cost of revenue and the cost of goods?
No, it's different terminology. It's the same thing. Sometimes cost of revenue is used in some financial statements, but majority of the time you will always see cost of goods sold. So there's no difference between them.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I think if we move on to the next slide, then we'll see an example of a very basic income statement. So in this income statement, if you will see, there is revenue that is marked there, cost of sales as well, Ashik, that you just asked, that is also mentioned. You have gross profit. So that is, of course, revenue minus cost of sales is your gross profit. Now, from there, this distribution cost and this administration expense, these are your operating expenses. So if you deduct gross profit minus your distribution cost minus your operating expense, you get to very simply operating profit. And then from there, if you see finance cost deducted, that is profit before tax. Now this you will also see, that's called we call it NPAT. Sorry, not NPAT, it's NPBT. So net profit before tax, that's what it will show. And then as you deduct tax expenses from there, it will give you profit attributable to shareholders. This is net profit after tax. So when you see NPAT, NPAT, that's net profit after tax, that is being used, and you will hear this many times. Any questions on this? And income statements are like very simple to easy to follow once you actually grasp these things. They are very simple, very easy to navigate through. And if you ever stumble upon in your company, you're looking at the income statement, I suggest you again and again, or if you haven't started working and you'll be working for a company, just always speak to a finance person in the company and go through the income statement or balance sheet and the cash flow with them. And that's what I did as well. I used to just mark, and I was like, I don't get this, because it's very different to theoretically, academically to study something, but when you actually apply it, it's very different, because you know by the time you actually sometimes get to use that information, you've already forgotten. So that's what I used to do. So you can always go through that with your finance department. They will walk you through it. But very simply, even if you're running your own business, if you're starting a very basic, simple, say, I see this YouTuber having a business of stickers, right? She draws them, she gets them printed, and she sells them. So even for her, that would be an income statement, right? To actually see how she's tracking. She may not have a balance sheet and a cash flow statement, but basically, she as a small business will always have an income statement to keep a track of how much money is she making. That's it for the today's content, guys, because we will be dwelling on, like, we will be going through balance sheet and cash flow statement and few more examples in the next couple of sessions. But yes, it was more for me. If I'm still awake, you can ask me a question, I will answer. Hi, Ajmal, do you have a question?
Okay, so I was on mute. I was not able to talk. Okay. Okay, there are still 21 folks. First
Good.
of
I
all,
didn't scare them away. That's a good thing.
I was that was a metrics that I was looking at.
Yeah, me too.
See, we were, to be honest with you, Sonal, I was having so many apprehensions when taking the decision that we need to go ahead with economics session.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, yeah. So economics is a very dry subject, but at the same time, economics is very very important for life, because
Yes.
at the end of the day, if we don't understand how money works,
Yeah.
probably we cannot create any value.
Yeah. Agree.
So for those folks who are listening in and who are still awake, I think they must have understood it somehow or the other, that it is important, but still they are in their mind, I am sure that they are still figuring out, like, okay, how does this make sense, right?
Yeah.
So uh, that's why I see a lot of them are not asking questions. But then probably I'll probe them. So have you ever felt bad about not knowing fundamentals of economics?
Um, I can talk from my experience.
Hmm.
So, as I said, that I stumbled into this product management, right? I never thought that I would be working in this space, but when I walked into it, I loved it. Now, from there on, with my second company that I worked for, which was a startup, so this is first company was GE. So GE was huge. So nothing used to those questions never would come to me, right? They would go to a senior PM, or they would go to and they won't come to a normal like a associate PM or a junior PM, right? You're just executing the work. You've been given a feature, and that's what the job was. It's when I actually went to this startup, that's when the learning happened. That's when I realized I need to know everything about my product, because anyone, literally telling you, anyone was coming to me and asking me questions. Like CEO was saying, Sonal, do this, Sonal, do that. I want a competitive analysis. Now, how can I do a competitive analysis if I don't even understand the numbers, right? Because I can have the attributes of how the product is doing, but I also need to tell them how much money is that product making as per their financial statements. And how can I do that when I don't even understand the difference between revenue, and should I be capturing revenue or should I be capturing net profit after tax? So those are the questions, right, that goes into your mind. Oh my god, and this is going to a CEO, so I can't look stupid. So that's another dilemma that's going on. So I think I just used to run to this girl. She was in finance in my and she used to just sit like very near to me, and I would just go and run to her, and I was like, okay, this is all, I've got it printed out, all these companies, what should I be capturing? And then she would actually mark it for me. So now this is what you capture, this is what it means.
Hmm.
And that's where I learned. So I don't think so you need to feel bad about it. Yes, you do feel at, when you're in the nervous situation, you do feel, oh my god, why don't I know this, and you're googling everything, but Google doesn't help at that time because it vomits so much information that it's very hard for you to absorb. So I think you, so at
Exactly a reason why we are doing this session. All
yeah,
right. So initially, when I thought, no, we need to discuss about product economics, I thought of writing few blogs, to start with. But
yeah,
then when I searched for references in Google, I myself was in a situation like, oh my God, what is this? How can I
yeah,
write something about this? No,
yeah,
there is too much of information, but not put in a way that a normal person can understand.
yeah.
Correct.
And I would like to call Nitin, sorry, just here. I'd like to, sorry, I'm interrupting. Just, so all these guys who are on the session, I would again tell them, go back to basic. Being a product manager does not mean you need to know everything in and out. That's not, because if you will know about so many things, from sales to marketing, running campaign, to designing the product, to even developing it, to even knowing the finance, you will go crazy. That's not humanly possible for one person to do. You just need to know the basics so that you can talk in the right terminology. So for example, if I'm coming from non-technical, if I'm going into the product that has a very technical backend, I will get that, read those terminologies so I can speak to my developers accordingly. Simply, if I'm talking to a marketing guy, I will talk about in campaigns. Okay, so how much was the adoption rate, what happened, right? What is a CTA now? I didn't know what that CTA was initially. It's clicks, what is the call to action that you will have on it. So I will talk in their terminology so that they can grasp. So this is all about learning basic terminology. What is the revenue? You need to know the top line. What is net profit after tax? If you grasp that today, just the top line, what is an operating profit? What is an operating expense? Anything to do with the good that you're selling. If you got that, that means today you have got the basic of an income statement and you can have a conversation. That's it.
Okay.
So, and this is important if you're doing your little bit of your own business. Of course, you learn on the go as well.
Okay. Correct. That's correct. I totally agree with you. And I'll take 2 more minutes to tell a story, real life story, just like
Yeah,
Sonal told me. Okay.
yeah,
So, as a product manager, once my boss asked me to work on a report. Uh, So, the report was basically to fetch the sales numbers. All right. So when I looked at the current data structure, I identified that, okay, the number of orders, the order amount, okay, the amount of revenue that I got from the e-commerce orders is what is going to be the sales numbers. Okay, so I designed the particular report, and I wrote the SQL script to get the data, and I got the data for the last 1.5 years, and then I'm going to the CEO to present it. All right. Okay. So I'm presenting this data, and CEO just called the finance and asked, okay, what was the revenue realization? And the numbers were so low than what I projected in the projector. And I was like so embarrassed, and he told me that this is not your fault. All right, he was really empathetic about it. See, you don't know the difference between the revenue collected and the revenue realized. So if you're talking to me, talk in terms of how much money that came into my account.
yeah,
So from where I can get that money, from what is the information that is going to, what is the kind of sense that is going to help me to get that, it is basically the income statement.
yeah,
If I had gone through the income statement of the company, I could have understand that they are calculating their revenue in terms of the collected revenue, because
yeah,
people swipe the credit cards, and majority of the credit cards were fraudulent, and there were some there are a lot of issues in which the numbers were different. So
yeah.
if I had a sense of this income statement, probably I would have been embarrassed that day.
Hmm.
All right, I could have moved that further. but then I was not able to. I missed that opportunity because the CEO lost confidence in me. Definitely,
No,
obviously, not to blame him.
no,
So that is why it is very important for you guys to understand. Like I'm talking, we have learned so many things the hard ways, and why we are running this community is because you youngsters
exactly.
don't have to fall in the same pits that we fell,
Yeah.
right?
And we're
Yeah.
still learning. We're still learning every day. We're still making, and some days we feel like a fool of ourselves, making a fool. Oh my God, what I've done. And some days, like, we still have that nervous butterflies in the stomach. Have we made the right decision? And some days it's like very confident that I've got this. I'm running the world. So feeling. So
Correct.
it's okay. It's normal.
Correct. So any more questions, or you can always give feedbacks. Tell us
Yes.
how was your experience today,
Yes,
if you
and
don't
do
have any.
remember that I was up from 10:30 to 11:30 p.m. Be kind in your feedback.
So hello. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, so now it all makes sense because like before like about I think like 6 or 7 months, I had to do like monthly statement and also like some balance sheet for the company for a company of my aunt when she was away for some treatment. So I had to work on that. At that time, she always tells me like the total amount should be the same as like after adding all the
Hmm.
assets and liabilities and it should be like decimals also it should be correct. Otherwise, it won't be like won't be acceptable. So I always look through all the bank statements and all the sheets, and so I at that time like what is the why should I do like why should it be like same? That was something like uh, stuck on my head at that time.
Hmm.
So like and after that I did this created balance sheets and all the things like so. I have experience like looking through the income sheets and also like the ledgers and all things. Yeah, so now after this like oh okay like we because of like yeah.
Exactly. Like you learn from the experience, and you know what? At times we still figure out what is our job. Like it's not part of my job, but yeah.
So anyone else ever prepared their own idea presentation? I think we have people who presented their ideas to idea competitions or ideathons. So ever struggled with financial statements or ever struggled with financial projections there? This is the answer.
Yes, Chada. Actually, we used to skip that part. We never talked about business kind of things. We only talked about how the product works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have also tried a little bit of financial thing in my idea. So the pitch deck was gave, gave us a already prepared template to fill the numbers in certain columns like revenue, the cost, expenditure, and so on. So I was totally confused. Like I have come all through, I have made all the strategies, the business plan, everything else, and when it comes to numbers, how can I put numbers here? Like if they are expecting a 1 lakh, or can I give a 5 year plan? They are asking like after 5 years, how much revenue will be earned? So I was like, yeah, approximately five crore. Yeah, let's put it here. So I was totally confused. That time I understood something. There is something to learn. I have to learn. There is something. There is lot of things I have to learn while building a product and analyzing a business plan. So yeah, I have experience on that.
Okay, now feedback time. So as you can see in the chat, there is a link. Please go to that link and quickly add your feedback. It will be really good, so that we can have a quick check on how we have done, and if there are anything that we need to improve, definitely we'll come and improve the experience. We are
Yes.
learning. Yeah, So
Exactly.
please make use of that link. Ashwin has already shared in the chat. You can see that. You can give your honest and brutally honest feedbacks too, but be
Yeah.
kind to Sonal.
No,
Okay.
that's it. It helps me to learn as well, guys. To be very honest, because we have couple more sessions to go through as well. If you felt that anything could be more interactive or anything to do with the content as well that could be improved on, feel free to give that because these sessions are being run for your advantage. So it would be a shame if we don't take this opportunity correctly, and if whatever I know, if I can pass it on to you guys correctly, then my job is done here, right? And if you can actually let me know as well that, hey, Sonal, we would like you to get this next time or do, then feel free to do that because that's why I volunteered for it, and that's why, um, exactly, I want you to guys to not make the mistakes that I did, and hopefully make your own, but not my ones.
Okay. Okay. So um, thank you so much, Sonal. Uh, I don't know how to thank you. So no words on that.
Pleasure on mine.
Uh, Really grateful for the kind of heart that you're putting in, sitting from Australia, that too, and staying up till night for our community. Looking forward for more. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. You've been great as well. Very kind to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, we can
Um,
leave.
yeah.
All right.
Trying to
ഫീഡ്ബാക്ക് ഫോം ആരെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ ഫില്ല് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ
Yes. ആകെ രണ്ട് ഇത് വന്നിട്ടുള്ളൂ, ഫീഡ്ബാക്ക് വന്നിട്ടുള്ളൂ ഇതുവരെ.
ഓക്കെ.
Yes. Gopi, I think you
Okay.
can stop here.
Okay, okay.